Ankita Robin and welcome to ST Global News. From the Rosary pilgrimage to Lourdes that brought together 17,000 faithful to the gruesome murder of a Catholic priest in Mexico, we have many stories to cover. A record number of pilgrims gathered in Lourdes this October for the annual Dominican Rosary pilgrimage. Over 17,000 faithful from across the world came together in prayer and reflection at the sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes, making it the largest pilgrimage to the Marian shrine this year.
Over 17,000 pilgrims from around the world participated in this year's Rosary pilgrimage to the sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes. The 117th edition of the pilgrimage, organized by the Dominican family, was held from October 2nd to 4th. Among the participants were nearly 200 Dominicans, 3,000 young people and children, and about 1,000 sick and disabled individuals who took part in the 3-day spiritual event. The main guest preacher was Cardinal Jean-Paul Vesco, a French Dominican and Archbishop of Algiers, who attended the pilgrimage accompanied by 30 Algerian Muslims. His homily centered on the virtue of hope. The Algerian pilgrims also presented an amateur drama recounting the story of the 7 Trappist monks of Tipperine martyred during the Algerian Civil War. Cardinal Francois Bustillo, Bishop of Ajaccio, also joined the pilgrimage and addressed the faithful. Antonia Salzano Acutis, mother of St. Carlo Acutis, shared her son's testimony and faith journey with the pilgrims. First organized in 1908, the Rosary pilgrimage to Lourdes began as a modest Dominican initiative and has since grown into one of the largest annual gatherings at Lourdes. With nearly 17,000 pilgrims this year, it stands as the biggest pilgrimage to the Marian shrine in 2025.
Republican Congressman Riley Moore has formally urged Secretary of State Marco Rubio to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern due to rising persecution of Christians. In his letter, Moore highlighted the killing of over 7,000 Christians in the first 8 months of 2025 and cited the destruction of nearly 19,100 churches since 2009. He criticized the Nigerian government for complicity and negligence and called the Biden administration's 2017 reversal of Nigeria's CPC status a serious policy error. Moore stressed that the U.S. must act decisively to protect religious freedom and confront the escalating violence against believers.
In a significant intervention reflecting growing concern with U.S. political circles, Republican Congressman Riley Moore, a prominent advocate for religious freedom, has formally urged Secretary of State Marco Rubio to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern (CPC) in response to the escalating persecution of Christians in the West African nation. In his letter to the Secretary of State, Moore underscored the systematic nature of anti-Christian violence in Nigeria, framing it as both a human rights crisis and a test of U.S. foreign policy commitments to religious liberty. He opened by recalling the murder of Father Matthew Aya, a Catholic priest killed by an Islamist terrorist on Ash Wednesday, describing the incident as emblematic of the dangers facing Christians in the country. Moore cited data indicating that over 7,000 Christians were killed in the first 8 months of 2025, with an average of 35 Christians killed and 100 abducted daily by extremist groups such as Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa Province ISWAP. He further noted that since 2009, approximately 19,100 churches have been attacked or destroyed, pointing to complicity and negligence within the Nigerian government as contributing factors to the crisis. The congressman also referenced the 2017 reversal of Nigeria's CPC status by President Biden, originally designated under the Trump administration as a policy misstep that requires urgent correction. Moore concluded his letter by asserting that the U.S. cannot remain passive while believers are slaughtered, urging the administration to acknowledge the explicitly religious dimension of the violence and respond with decisive diplomatic measures.
Police arrested a 23-year-old man for allegedly vandalizing a statue of the Virgin Mary with a hammer at the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception in Waterbury, Connecticut. According to reports, officers responded to reports of a disturbance involving a weapon around 8 a.m. on October 1st and found the suspect, identified as Kyron Atkinson, actively striking the statue.
A 100-year-old Virgin Mary statue in the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception in Waterbury, Connecticut, was damaged by a hammer-wielding man. In the morning of October 1st, 23-year-old Kyron Atkinson entered the church, jumped onto the altar, and began striking the statue with a hammer, Fox 61 reported. After being alerted by the church officials, the police found the suspect trying to destroy the statue. He was taken into custody and charged with breach of peace, criminal mischief, interfering with an officer, and deprivation of rights. Father Jim Sullivan, director of the Basilica, told Catholic Vote the attack left parishioners with great sadness. Fortunately, only the statue's garment was damaged. The face and hands were intact. The statue's broken fragments have been collected, and a restoration expert is expected to assess the damage and do the repairs in about 4 to 6 weeks. Attacks on Catholic parishes have been exponentially rising in recent years in the U.S. According to Catholic Vote, more than 500 attacks on Catholic parishes have occurred over the past 5 years.
Pope Leo XIV is set to embark on his first apostolic journey abroad at the end of November, with visits to Turkey and Lebanon. The Holy See confirmed the trip, which will include a pilgrimage to Iznik, marking 1700 years since the First Council of Nicaea. In Lebanon, the Pope is expected to deliver a message of peace to a nation that has endured years of hardship.
Pope Leo XIV has scheduled his first apostolic journey overseas to Turkey and Lebanon for the end of November 2025. The Holy See Press Office announced on October 7th that the Holy Father had accepted the invitations of the heads of state and ecclesiastical authorities of both nations. Pope Leo will travel to Turkey on November 27th and from there to Lebanon on November the 30th. His itinerary in Turkey will also include a pilgrimage to Iznik on the occasion of the 1700th anniversary of the First Council of Nicaea. Pope Leo told journalists in Rome that the trip to Turkey was a journey Pope Francis wanted to make, and an anniversary was a historic opportunity. Talking about his visit to Lebanon, the Pope explained that he would use the opportunity to proclaim the message of peace in the Middle East, in a country that has suffered very much. The Holy Father will return to Rome on December the 2nd. According to the Vatican Press Office, further details of the itinerary will be announced in due course.
Pope Leo has expressed his full support for Vatican Secretary of State Cardinal Pietro Parolin following sharp criticism from Israel's embassy in the Vatican. The dispute arose after Cardinal Parolin's remarks on the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict, which the Holy Father affirmed as a clear reflection of the Holy See's position.
After the Embassy of Israel to the Holy See criticized Cardinal Pietro Parolin's remarks on the Israel-Gaza conflict, Pope Leo has come out in defense of the Vatican diplomat, stating that the Cardinal had very clearly expressed the Holy See's position on the matter. Cardinal Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State, had granted an interview to Vatican media on the occasion of the second anniversary of Hamas's attack on Israel, which took place on October 7, 2023. In the interview, he condemned Hamas's assault as inhuman and indefensible and called for the immediate release of hostages. At the same time, he urged Israel to uphold the principle of proportionality in its right to self-defense. The Cardinal drew attention to the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, where the war has claimed tens of thousands of lives. He appealed to all sides to abandon the blind logic of hatred and revenge and reject violence as a means of resolving conflict. Cardinal Parolin noted that both Pope Francis and Pope Leo have repeatedly called for the release of hostages and a return to peace. He said, quote, "It seems evident that the war waged by the Israeli army to eliminate Hamas militants disregard the fact that it is targeting a largely defenseless population already pushed to the brink," end quote. The Cardinal lamented the international community's inability to halt the bloodshed, saying that nations with influence have failed to stop the ongoing massacre. He expressed hope in the ceasefire proposal put forward by US President Donald Trump, adding that the Pope shares this optimism. Cardinal Parolin also condemned the rise in anti-Semitic attacks, calling it a sad and equally unjustifiable consequence of the conflict. He reiterated that no individual should be targeted because of their identity and reaffirmed the Holy See's consistent support for a two-state solution as the path toward lasting peace. In response, the Israeli embassy in the Vatican issued a statement on October 7th, accusing Cardinal Parolin of drawing moral equivalence where it does not belong. While acknowledging his good intentions, the embassy said the remarks risked undermining efforts to end the war in Gaza and counter the global rise in anti-Semitism. It further expressed hope that future Vatican statements would reflect the distinction between a democratic state protecting its citizens and a terrorist organization intent on killing them. Meanwhile, marking the second anniversary of the October 7th attacks, Pope Leo once again emphasized the importance of dialogue in pursuing peace. He said, quote, "We must reduce hatred and rediscover the ability to dialogue to seek peaceful solutions," end quote. The Pope has also called for the global church to observe October 11th as a day of prayer for peace.
In a press release issued Monday, October 6th, the St. Pio Foundation announced it will permanently donate 20 first-class relics of St. Padre Pio to various parishes throughout the United States. Each relic, cloth-bearing stains of Padre Pio's blood, will be used to create a dedicated chapel of St. Pio within the receiving parishes.
The St. Pio Foundation announced on October the 6th that it will permanently donate 20 first-class relics of St. Pio of Pietrelcina, better known as Padre Pio, to parishes across the United States. Each relic, a piece of cloth stained with the saint's blood, will be used to create a chapel of St. Pio for public veneration. According to the foundation, the chapels aim to provide permanent prayer sites and local pilgrimage centers, bringing the faithful closer to Padre Pio's intercession. The first of these chapels was established in 2024 at St. Peter of the Apostle Catholic Church in the Diocese of Fort Worth, Texas. Decisions on the other parish locations are still pending. The St. Pio Foundation, a national non-profit, stated that the initiative aims to spread the saint's legacy of prayer, sacrifice, and love for the suffering. It also invited dioceses interested in establishing chapels to contact the organization directly. Meanwhile, Connecticut and Pennsylvania will host Padre Pio's robe and other personal relics for public veneration from October 11 to 18. Alatea reported that this marks the first time the saint's robe has left Italy, accompanied by Capuchin friars from San Giovanni Rotondo.
Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa escaped unharmed after a crowd of about 500 protesters attacked his convoy with rocks near Cuenca, damaging the presidential vehicle in what officials called an assassination attempt. The incident, linked to nationwide protests led by indigenous community against Noboa's diesel subsidy cuts, resulted in 5 detentions and heightened tensions amid ongoing clashes and a state of emergency.
Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa escaped unhurt after his convoy was attacked by a large crowd hurling rocks on Tuesday. The attack occurred near the southern city of Cuenca and left visible damage to the presidential vehicle. Noboa's aide and the country's environmental minister Ines Manzano characterized the attack an assassination attempt and detained 5 people in connection with the attack. Ecuadorian media reports that President Noboa's car was surrounded by a group of around 500 people throwing rocks as he approached an event in Canar province. The group is reportedly associated with ongoing nationwide protest against the president's decision to halt diesel subsidies. Country's indigenous community has recently led demonstrations against the government and clashed with police, where 1 civilian died and several others were injured last week.
A serious incident disrupted the opening Mass of the March for Life on the morning of Saturday, October 4th at St. Charles Church in Vienna. The alarm was raised when worshippers spotted a bag in the nave making a ticking sound. Authorities quickly evacuated the church and the Cobra Special Unit along with bomb disposal experts was called to the scene. After securing and inspecting the objects, officials confirmed they were fake explosive devices.
A serious incident happened during the opening Mass of the March for Life in Vienna's St. Charles Church. Faithful first noticed a bag in nave emitting a ticking noise, and shortly another suspicious object was also discovered behind the pillar. The Cobra Special Unit, along with the explosives experts, evacuated the church and secured and examined the objects, finding that they were fake bombs. Authorities suspect the devices were strategically planted to cause panic and interfere with the pro-life demonstration. Based on the location and timing of officials say it appears to be a coordinated attempt to threaten and intimidate Christians. Earlier that day, a radical left-wing channel shared a poster labeled Call to Action promoting violence against Christians. The image featured a burning church with the words Give the fundamentalist hell. Nearby, a chalk thread was also discovered referencing the recent assassination of US conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Jan Ledowchowski, chairman of Christian Shoots, condemned the act that intimidate innocent people and disrupt their right to freedom of assembly. This latest incident of the discovery of fake bomb escalates the hostility towards Christians. He also expressed concern about what could happen next. Marek Pukalik, rector of St. Charles Church, and Johannes Pascali of the Friends of St. Charles's Church shared that the incident is a violent attack on the freedom of religion as a fundamental and human right. He further added that they are no longer afraid and will not be intimidated by violence. Despite the false bomb threat, the March for Life proceeded peacefully with over 2,500 participants rallying in support of life, undeterred by efforts to disrupt the event.
After spending 13 long years in prison for a crime he did not commit, Pastor Zafar Bhatti was finally acquitted of blasphemy charges on October 2nd, reclaiming his long-awaited freedom. Tragically, just 2 days later, he died of cardiac arrest, leaving his devoted wife Nawab Bibi and the Christian community in deep sorrow. Though his life on earth has come to an end, Zafar's unwavering faith, resilience and ultimate exoneration stand as a powerful witness to hope in Christ in the face of persecution.
Pakistani Christian pastor Zafar Bhatti, longest-serving blasphemy prisoner, has finally been acquitted on October 2nd by the Lahore High Court Rawalpindi bench. After 13 long years in prison, falsely accused of sending 2 blasphemous text messages, the decision closes a painful chapter in Zafar's life. But at what cost? The long-awaited freedom lasted just 2 days. Zafar passed away from cardiac arrest, leaving his devoted wife Nawab Bibi and the Christian community in deep mourning. British Asian Christian Association announced the tragic death of Zafar just 2 days after being acquitted of false charges. The organization arranged for his burial in Karachi, fulfilling his last wish. British Asian Christian Association has scheduled a comprehensive medical checkup for Zafar on Monday, 6th October, to assess his health following years of imprisonment. However, on the evening of Sunday, 5th October at approximately 8:30 p.m. local time, Zafar's wife called the BACA officer in distress, reporting that Zafar had fallen ill and required immediate medical attention. The paramedics arrived without delay, but the unthinkable had already happened. Zafar died of cardiac arrest before he could be transferred to the hospital. Zafar's nightmare began in 2012 when he was accused of sending 2 blasphemous text messages. He consistently denied the allegations, insisting he had been falsely accused because of his Christian faith. Despite the lack of a credible forensic evidence, he was sentenced to life in prison. In 2022, the Sessions Court in Rawalpindi escalated the sentence to death. It was at this point that Zafar placed his trust in BACA, and the legal team led by Saiful Malook began the long and difficult fight for his release. During his imprisonment, Zafar's wife Nawab Bibi, now 76, endured immense suffering, frail and battling serious health issues. She often feared she would die without ever seeing her husband free again.
Each delayed hearing and legal setback felt like another blow to her fading hope. But when the news of Safar's acquittal reached her, Nawab broke down in tears of relief and gratitude. She said it felt like given a new lease on her life. For the first time in more than a decade, she can finally envision embracing her husband outside the prison walls. During the latest interview after his acquittal, Zafar shared that it was Jesus who kept him safe throughout these years. He shared the Bible verse, "Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Instead, fear the one who can destroy both your body and soul in hell." With his sudden demise, Nawab is inconsolable. After being apart for 13 years, they reunited, but the happiness was short-lived. Safar Bhate's story stands as a powerful reminder of the continued injustices endured by Christians under Pakistan's blasphemy laws. His life, his suffering, and ultimately his death will not be forgotten. Though his freedom came only shortly before his passing, people who knew him find solace in knowing that he died a free man, finally vindicated, and now rests in the eternal peace of Christ.
Tragedy has struck the Catholic community in Mexico. The body of a priest who went missing over the weekend has been found in Guerrero, one of the country's most violent regions. Authorities have launched a homicide investigation.
The lifeless body of a Mexican priest who went missing on Saturday was discovered on Monday, October 6th. Father Bartoldo Pantaleon Estrada, 58, parish priest of San Cristobal Church in Mezcala, was last seen on October 4th. His body, identified by parish authorities, was found in the municipality of Eduardo Neri, Guerrero, a region notorious for rampant gang violence. The Diocese of Chilpancingo Chilapa had announced his disappearance in a statement on Saturday, urging the faithful to pray for his safe return. His death has since been strongly condemned by the Jesuits of Mexico. While the motive and perpetrators remain unknown, the Guerrero State Prosecutor's Office has confirmed it is investigating the priest's death as a homicide. Attacks against Catholic clergy in Mexico have become increasingly frequent, reflecting the deep entrenchment of organized crime and violence in society. According to the Catholic Multimedia Center, which monitors assaults on religious figures, at least 10 priests were killed in Mexico between 2019 and 2024.
That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.